come on. Baby, don't you wanna go?
Hi there, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hersh, and your host, Avi Meyers.
Thank you, Marty. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine, a presentation of Sonny Hersh and myself. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at ntnm.org, where you can get the links to see all of our shows on YouTube, where at this point 70,000 people have made the mistake of watching us. And stay tuned in segment 2. We're going to have Jerry Elsner, who's the executive director of the Illinois State Crime Commission. I'd also like to remind you that community policing is a very good thing to get involved in. Sonny, of course, in his spare time is the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. You can check up the local CAPS meetings in the 24th District at caps24.org. And of course, I would like to introduce my, speaking, you know what, if we're going to talk about fluids, who said talked about fluids? But, you know, when it comes to fluids, and of course it's springtime, it rains, all the rest of it. And by the way, this is coffee, so it's not the water. And by the way, the water here, shut up, Avi. Terry O'Brien, President, Water Reclamation District, Greater Chicago. How you doing, Terry?
Good, Avi. How are you?
Real good, thanks. And before I forget, hey, Kathleen, how you doing? It's always a pleasure. And hi, Marty, of course, from Terry. So, you know what? How do we do? We had, of course, a very, very rainy spring.
Yeah, we had very wet April, but all in all, we held our own on it. Didn't have any problems with regards to having a release to the lake or anything of that nature. So that's one of the big issues that we're concerned with. And the fact that now the beaches have opened, being that it's after Memorial Day, that's one of the concerns. But it's always the concern of the fact that Lake Michigan is our drinking water, and we do not like to release out to the lake if we don't have to.
No, it'd be a very good idea, and I do appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem.
But you won't catch me with bottled water. No way. If you got me with bottled water, it's probably vodka.
There's been studies done on bottled water. That's not always good for you either. So
no, as a matter of fact, and some would just repackage your stuff and
taking out some of the fluorides and chlorine and stuff like that. So.
Do you get to send them a higher bill when they do stuff like that?
You'll have to ask Alderman Stone. That's the City of Chicago Department of Water. So
oh, okay.
Maybe that might be a source of revenue for them. You know.
Yeah, he was just on last week. I guess I missed my chance.
But that could be a source of revenue.
Yeah, that sounds good. You know, speaking of Alderman Stone, who's always enlightening us with all this good stuff, when he was on the show last time, he was explaining that a lot of the potholes on the streets are actually sewer cave-ins. And that those sewer cave-ins, it's funny because he used a name for it I never heard before. But it turns out the rain blockers might be a problem. Are you familiar with this at all? Or?
Well, I mean, the rain blockers, all they are is basically a reducer in the curb sewers, which reduces an 8-inch opening down to a 4-inch opening, which actually slows the flow of the water into the sewer. What happens, it ponds it on the street, which is where we want it, rather than people's basements. But I would assume that maybe in the colder weather, when that gets underneath the asphalt along the curb sewers or in the street, you may have some condition where you're going to have an expansion contraction, and it may break up some of the asphalt, create a pothole.
Yeah, he was explaining to me, he actually heard it from Alderman O'Connor, which maybe I thought that he had heard it from you. And by the way, I do want to say, because even though this will be on like 3 weeks afterwards, I want to express my condolences to Alderman O'Connor on the loss of his father. I happen to like Alderman O'Connor quite a bit, and I do believe I met his dad early on. And
yeah, his father's been involved in politics in Chicago for a long time, going back to Richard J. Daley, who he worked for, I believe, at the Bureau of Equipment. He was a commissioner there. I
saw the obituary, and he's miffed. I didn't know all the things he had done, but he had been involved with a lot of things, that's for sure. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sorry, so getting back to the rate, that could be corroding or causing...
Well, it could be creating some potholes, but with regards to sewer cave-ins, what happens there is if there's a broken sewer tile and water gets in underneath it, it sometimes washes out the containment of what that sewer tile lays on, and that, in essence, creates a sinkhole or a caved-in sewer. So, and that depends on the flow of the water and depends on the integrity of the sewer pipe. So if there's some problem with the sewer pipe and the integrity of the sewer pipe, then you're going to have a washing effect underground, which would entail removing some of the soil or sand away from where it should be. So, and could cause a cave-in.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I'm not an engineer, but I think it's important that people learn these things and find out about them. How are the, of course, with all the tarp, it's funny because when people use the word tarp, I automatically think about your tarp.
Yeah.
Because you're the first tarp I heard of, but of course the president has his tarp project
Should have
also.
put a patent on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you could be getting a fee from him on a regular. But you know what? Are you getting part of the federal money that's being spent?
We're getting $10 million from the state of Illinois. The state of Illinois was given $180 million for water and wastewater treatment projects. We're going to receive $10 million of that $180 million. $5 of it will be interest-free, and then $5 million will be through the state revolving fund loan. So normally in the past, we've received 25% of that particular money that would come in from Washington. However, I guess the IEPA has quite a few projects related to water and water infrastructure.
That'd be the Illinois Environmental Protection
Agency, correct. So, and they're the ones that are responsible for doling out the...
Yeah, actually, I was a little disappointed when you were saying $10 million out of... it sounds like you should be entitled to more usually.
Well, we have about $360 million are ready-to-go projects. Shovel-ready projects is what they call it. We're in for about a $22 million stimulus package.
By the way, speaking of shovel-ready projects, the rototiller I rented broke down, so if anybody's got a shovel, I got a backyard that needs outside.
You gonna put me to work after this, or what?
Hey, absolutely. We'll go for it.
But there's $22 million that we're working on with the Army Corps of Engineers to secure for a portion of the McCook Reservoir that will help that operation there in construction.
That's something that I never realized until I got to know you is how you have to lobby yourself all the time. You have to go to places, you have to go to Washington and lobby you have to be friendly with the congressional delegations and, go down to Springfield and...
Yeah, we're a creature of the General Assembly. Back in 1889, it was put into law as the Sanitary District Act. So that's a lot of our legislative changes and statute changes have to come through that body. But then, from the standpoint of this federal project, the Tunnel and Reservoir Plan, as I've mentioned in the past, the tunnels were authorized for funding by the U.S. EPA, that's the United States Environmental Protection Agency. They were to come up with 75% of the funding. We, as a local sponsor, were picking up 25%. Now, on the reservoir portion, the Army Corps of Engineers is picking up 75%. We, as a local sponsor, are picking up to 25%. So that's where our interplay comes with Washington, D.C. on those two authorizations from Congress.
Yeah, and of course you're the only from. How's your record? I mean, I remember for a number of years in a row, you've actually not used up all the tax stuff you've been entitled to and rebated a little bit.
We have, but now the economic times are getting tough.
I was wondering about that.
And financially, we're still in good shape. We're just looking now at what needs to be done and what can be put off in the way of projects. Fortunately enough, we have not had to lay off any people at our agency, nor have we had to ask anybody to take any furlough days. So,
well, thank God for that. But you've always been pretty fiscally responsible.
I mean, since I've been on the board 21 years now, our workforce has decreased about 700 personnel.
Really?
And it hasn't been people that have been laid off. It's just we've looked at it through appropriations control. When somebody retires, we look at that position to see if it's a crucial position or not, and whether to fill it or not. That and with the automation that we've done at a lot of our facilities, it's helped increase our operations and decrease the cost of person power, to be politically correct.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
We've got about 2,145 approximately right now.
So that means about a quarter of your workforce is you found ways to be more efficient.
More efficient, yeah.
Well, also,
even with taking on more responsibility now with stormwater management.
I honestly didn't know your predecessor, but I do know that you were considered the blue ribbon candidate to come in there when scandal hit.
Well, I had 5 votes. I guess you got 5 votes. That helps you out. So.
And of course, you were re-elected earlier.
Just re-elected in January by my colleagues on the board.
Smart move on their part.
We actually we're waiting for the governor to make an appointment. We have one
That's right.
vacancy.
You've got an
still.
opening. Yeah.
Yes, one of our colleagues returned back to her staff position. That's Pat Young. She had taken a leave of absence when she came on the board, and then part of the policy is that when somebody takes a leave of absence from their position, that they're the first ones to be able to first ones approached in order to come back to that position. So she decided that she wanted to go back on staff.
So you're an 8-member board right now.
We're at 8 right now.
And you guys go out and you speak all over the place.
Yeah, we go to we go to schools, we go to seniors clubs, Kiwanis, Lions clubs, anybody that's interested in touring any one of our facilities, they can go to our website, which is mwrd.org. There's a section on there that they can go to, which is connected to our public affairs department, and they can line up tours for students, seniors groups, or whatever of any one of our facilities right now.
I actually checked out your website a little bit last night, and it's got a new look to it.
Yeah, we had that discussion. I think maybe the last time we were on here, that was kind of a boring website, and I'd kind of been on our executive director the last few months to see if we couldn't spice things up, as far as making it look a little more professional. So we're in the business of treating wastewater, not dealing with computers. So I finally got him to get involved with computers now.
No, it's a little prettier, that's for sure. Yeah. And I don't have smell of computers, so I'm not getting.
We don't smell of vision either, so.
Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Although, you know what, I got a very interesting look. I think I mentioned this the last time you were on too, but I want to bring it up again just because it was so interesting. When I took the, not being a car person anymore, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever it is. I've been walking as much as I am getting some weight back. I took the yellow line, yeah. And we got an overhead tour of Howard and McCormick where the water rec plant is there. And like when you're traveling in the air and you see these like pond type things, you got a whole bunch of those over there.
Yeah.
It's really a big spread of land back there. It's something that I never would have seen otherwise.
Well, and it might even get bigger depending on the rules and regulations and how they change here in the future. That property there at Oakton and McCormick used to be an old coal gasification facility run by Nicor or one of the utilities, and right now we're in the process of having that cleaned up because down the road here we may need to expand that particular facility.
Wow. So are there more people in the county, or just people using more water? Or?
No, it's just it's a change in rules and regulations. So I mean, if they want
nutrient
removal,
type stuff,
nutrient removal. They're talking people want to do disinfection. Before we discharge to the waterway system. So if those all come into play, and the Illinois Pollution Control Board.
We talked about that with.
Yeah. So what we're trying to tell people, rather than force us into spending $2 billion to make improvements at our Northside plant, our Stickney plant, and our Calumet plant, which are the oldest facilities, is to let us finish doing our science. I mean, it doesn't make sense to spend money if you don't actually find out if it's going to provide an additional benefit. And that's what we're doing right now. There are some of the environmentalists who are trying to push us and push the law through before we finish these studies. And, I'm an environmentalist, but I'm not an extremist. I mean, you got to, like I tell people, we've been green for 120 years, and long before the color green became popular. So.
Well, you know what? Besides not having a car, which is more accidental, but I've got an organic vegetable garden out back. I've got my own compost pile. I've been recycling for years, but I certainly don't align myself politically with environmentalists.
Well, I'm going to have Commissioner Avila come over and eat out of your organic garden. He likes organic food.
Oh, well, he's welcome to the Red Wigglers.
What are those?
Red Wigglers, it's funny because I had a guest on, somebody from Indian Boundary Park, Jennifer Albaum, was trying to one-up me on the show and talk about worms and all that, Red Wigglers. Well, first of all, if you watched WKRP in the old days, that was Les Nessman's sponsor on WKRP. Okay. But red wigglers are considered a healthy worm in this. They'll eat your eggshells and coffee grounds, and I try to give it some.
WKRP wasn't in Cincinnati?
Yeah, okay. Exactly. That was a funny show. I enjoyed that show. But now those are all these good. But you know what I did? The politics. It's like when I read with some of these environmentalist people. I mean, they take this thing so far it's not even funny.
Well, yeah.
I look at it from a practical standpoint.
Yeah. And that's how you have to look at it. I mean, a lot of things they want to do are good things, but sometimes they go to the extreme, and sometimes you don't get the benefits that they think you may get for what they want us to do. I mean, one of the things with this disinfection, if we go with the technology they want us to use, it's going to hurt our carbon footprint because we're going to have to use more energy now to continue with that disinfection process. So if you do one thing, you harm another thing. So I mean, and that's what we're asking them to do is let us finish our studies, let science take its course, and then let's move on from there.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I think there's also a question, in some cases too, they don't even want to let things happen naturally.
No.
People prevented, for years they did everything they could to make sure that there weren't forest fires in Yellowstone Park. The minute there was a big fire there destroying thousands and thousands of acres, there was a whole rebirth.
Yeah.
I mean, God built things a certain way, so nature's supposed to work, in a certain system.
Take its own course.
Yeah, to a large extent. I mean,
well, and one of the reasons is what they want us to do is here. These are man-made waste or streams that we've created in the county. The North Shore Channel, the Sanitarian Ship Canal, the Cal-Sag Channel. These were all created to take wastewater away from the city of Chicago and Cook County before we put in wastewater treatment plants. So, and they're still there to convey that water away from the area, especially during rain events. Otherwise, we're flooding out people's communities and, potentially areas of the city of Chicago.
And there's no, you were also explaining, and we're running out of time here, but there's no shallow parts either. It's not like you can...
There's no easy ingress or egress into that body of water. Plus, in the downtown area, you got barge traffic that comes through to bring in raw materials to the area. Down the southern portion of the area, and they want us to start at one plant and forget about everybody else at the other two plants. We believe in equality here, and the fact that if we're going to do it on the north side, we're going to do it on the south side, and we're going to do it on the west side.
Absolutely, and it's that stuff is dangerous, people. Don't do anything foolish here.
And we've never had an incident where we've heard of anybody becoming really sick from contact with.
You don't want it to happen either.
Exactly.
At this point, I want to thank you very much, Terry O'Brien, President of the Water Reclamation District President of the Greater Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kath. Hi, Kathleen. How you doing? Hope everything is cool. I want to thank everybody.
You.
Stay tuned for Jerry Elsner from the Illinois State Crime Commission. Thanks, Sonny, and I'm overtime. Bye-bye.